It was 2:13 a.m. when my phone buzzed. I remember the exact time because I was halfway through an old movie I wasn't really watching, just letting it hum in the background like static to fill the space she used to occupy. The message came from Claire, her best friend since college, the one who wore sarcasm like perfume and never once hid the fact that she didn't fully approve of me. So when I saw her name lit up on my screen, my first instinct wasn't suspicion. It was confusion. Hey, I shouldn't be saying this, but I'm drunk. And honestly, I'm tired of keeping her secrets. That was the message. Just that. One sentence. But it hit like an earthquake in slow motion. I sat up, thumb hovering over the keyboard. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Claire was dramatic. She'd had 2 glasses of wine and staged interventions before. But something about the silence that followed, that gnawing pause after her message, told me this wasn't performance. I typed back, "What do you mean?" 3 dots. Then they vanished. Came back. Vanished again. She was hesitating, probably debating whether to open a door that couldn't be closed. When her reply came, it was a hammer. "You should talk to her about last year. New Orleans. Ask her who Jason is." I stared at the message like it would rewrite itself. Claire didn't follow up. She didn't need to. She knew what she'd done. She planted the seed, and now it was mine to water or ignore. But let me back up. Let me tell you about Lily. She used to tuck her feet under mine on cold nights. She'd text me mid-meeting just to say she missed my face. The first time I met her, she wore this oversized yellow cardigan and talked like life was some sort of inside joke she was letting me in on. She made the world feel smaller, more manageable, like I wasn't drifting anymore. We dated for 3 years. Married after 5. No kids, just a dog named Marley and a house we painted together one spring when money was tight and laughter came easy. And trust? It was our cornerstone. Or so I believed. She once looked me in the eye after a stupid argument about some text on my phone and said, "Trust is everything. If we lose that, we lose us." So I trusted her. I trusted her through the late meetings, the weekends away for work, the hotel shampoo bottles that weren't from any place I remembered us going. I trusted her when she said Claire was just bitter, that she always twisted things for attention. I trusted the woman who made our anniversary pancakes in heart shapes and cried with me when my dad passed. But after that message from Claire, something cracked. I didn't ask Lily about Jason right away. I wanted to, believe me. But I also wanted to be sure I wasn't letting a friend's drunken slip destroy a marriage I'd spent nearly a decade building. Instead, I started noticing things. Things I hadn't really allowed myself to before. Like how her phone was always face down now. How she'd jump a little when it buzzed, laugh nervously and say, "Just work stuff." I noticed how she suddenly cared about her appearance before team offsites, and how those trips lined up with cities that had never once been mentioned before in our shared calendar. And then there was the photo. One night, I went scrolling through our shared drive, looking for a picture from our Vermont trip to print for her birthday. That's when I found it, buried deep in a folder labeled Invoices. It was a group shot, harmless at first glance. A dozen or so people at what looked like a rooftop bar. But there she was, my wife, her hand wrapped around the arm of a man I didn't recognize. Jason. And they weren't just close. They were leaning into each other like gravity had forgotten everyone else in the room. I stared at the screen for a long time. I should have felt anger. I should have wanted to confront her right then, demand answers, demand truth. But what I felt was smaller, duller, like something had been leaking out of me for months, and I just now noticed I was empty. That night, she came home late, kicked off her heels and smiled at me the way she always did when she wanted to pretend life was normal. She sat beside me on the couch, curled into me like she hadn't just been somewhere I wasn't. I asked her, "Do you ever think we're too comfortable?" She tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "I mean, do you think we ever stop noticing each other? Just go through the motions?" She studied me, and for a second, I thought I saw something flicker in her eyes. Guilt? Fear? Or maybe just confusion. "No," she said finally. "I still notice you. Every day." That's what hurt the most. Not the lies. Not even the betrayal I now felt creeping in like mold through the cracks. It was how easily she said it. Like nothing was broken. The next morning, I replied to Claire. "I think I'm ready to hear everything." Her response came within a minute. "Okay, but you might want to sit down." I did. And what she told me next would change everything. Claire called instead of texting. Her voice was already trembling before she said a word. breath hitching like she was still deciding whether this was the right thing to do. You sure you want to know? She asked. No, I said. But I need to. There was silence on the line. Just the soft background hum of a ceiling fan and maybe a dog barking somewhere near her apartment. Then she said it. New Orleans wasn't the first time. I gripped the edge of the kitchen counter. My thumb pressed into a tiny chip in the granite I'd never noticed before. Funny what you start noticing once the veil lifts. She met him in Austin, Claire continued. Conference for her firm. They shared a panel. He was charming. Married too. You just finished renovating the guest bathroom, remember? She called you from the hotel balcony, told you how much she missed you. I remembered that call. I'd been standing in a Home Depot aisle, holding tile samples up to the fluorescence while she told me the sky looked like melting sherbet. Wish you were here, she said. Next year, we go together. Claire sighed. I told her to stop. I begged her, but she said it wasn't serious. Said it was just space. Like your marriage was too tight. Too predictable. Like she couldn't breathe. I didn't speak. I couldn't. My mind was filling in gaps I hadn't even realized were there. The surprise gifts. The mood swings. The random moments when she'd go distant, like she was somewhere else entirely. Maybe she was. And then New Orleans happened. That was Jason. But by then, it wasn't just him. There were others. Never at the same time. Just one after another. I closed my eyes. Claire's voice was still going, but it was like listening to someone from the bottom of a well. Distant. Muffled. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. She cried after everyone. Claire said, softer now. Said she hated herself. Said she loved you. And maybe she did. In her own way. But I couldn't lie for her anymore. Not after all this time. After we hung up, I stood in the kitchen for what felt like hours. The sun came up while I was still standing there. Same cabinets. Same coffee maker. Same kitchen island where she once surprised me with cupcakes for my birthday. The memory felt sour now, like sweetness turned to rot. I didn't confront her that day, or the day after. Instead, I watched. She went about her life like everything was fine. She texted me memes, brought home groceries, talked about the neighbors' loud music. It was all normal. Too normal. Like a dream you realize you're in, but can't wake from. Then came Friday night. She poured us each a glass of red wine and asked if I wanted to watch the new documentary she'd been excited about. I agreed. Sat next to her on the couch, felt her fingers interlace with mine like they always had. I watched her laugh at the funny parts, cry at the sad ones. And all I could think was, how many times did she come home and hold me like this, right after being with someone else? When the credits rolled, she turned to me. You've been quiet lately, she said. Is everything okay? I looked at her. Really looked at her. The face I once thought I'd grow old beside. The same eyes. The same freckles near her collarbone. But everything underneath felt foreign now. I got a message from Claire, I said. That was it. That's all it took. Her fingers slipped from mine like they'd been burned. Her mouth opened slightly, and her eyes darted left, like she was trying to scan for an exit. What did she say? I didn't answer. I just waited. She stood, walked toward the window, arms crossed, her back to me. The silence stretched. And then, okay, she whispered. Okay, you know. She turned around. No tears. Not yet. Just a hollow calm, like a prisoner who finally hears the lock click open. I didn't mean to. I never meant for it to go this far, she said. It was just supposed to be a release. A way to feel something again. You couldn't feel with me? I asked. I did, she said quickly. I still do. But it got complicated. And I didn't know how to stop without losing you. But you lost me anyway. That's when she started crying. The real kind. The kind you can't fake, not even for pity. Her knees buckled, and she sank to the floor like the weight of her choices had finally crushed her. I was scared, she sobbed. I didn't know how to tell you. I wanted to be better. I kept trying. But every time you looked at me like I was your whole world, I hated myself more. Because I knew what I was doing behind your back. I didn't speak. I let her cry. Let her kneel there in the same room where we used to dance barefoot on weekends. I want to fix this, she said finally. Please, tell me how. I looked at her then. Not with hate. Not even anger. Just grief. Deep, wide, quiet grief. You said trust was everything, I said. And you were right. She nodded, tear-streaked and desperate. And now, I added, we have nothing. The morning after she confessed, I sat in the car outside a coffee shop for 2 hours. I didn't go in. I didn't drink anything. I just sat there, the engine off, fingers clenched around the steering wheel like they could hold together everything that was slipping through. Back at home, she tiptoed around like someone walking through a house on fire, afraid to touch anything, afraid the walls would collapse. She tried cooking breakfast, burned the eggs, apologized a dozen times for things I hadn't even noticed. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I'd felt the heat. Let it boil over. Now all that was left was the cold. That night, she asked if we could talk again. I've deleted his number, she said. All of them. I blocked everyone. I want to go to therapy. We can go together. She placed her hand over mine. It trembled. I want to fight for this. For us. I believed her. That was the strange part. I really did. I believed that in that moment, she meant every word. But trust doesn't resurrect just because someone regrets killing it. It doesn't come back with promises or tears. It comes back slowly, if at all, through actions that no longer had time to grow. So I told her I needed space. A week. Maybe 2. Just to think. She nodded, but her eyes were begging me not to disappear. I stayed at a friend's place. The silence there wasn't peaceful. It was sharp, like everything was echoing too much. I kept going over Claire's words. Lily's confession. The picture on that rooftop. All the signs I missed. I wasn't perfect. I know that. There were times I was distracted, too focused on work, too tired to talk. Times when I brushed off her feelings because I didn't understand them. Maybe I made her feel invisible without realizing it. But I never lied. I never left her wondering if she was enough. That was the line she crossed. And she didn't just cross it once. 3 days into my absence, Claire sent me one last message. I'm sorry. I should have told you sooner. She said she was going to stop every time. But she never did. That was the thread that broke the last piece of me still holding on. When I returned to the house, Lily ran to me like I was salvation. She hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. But I didn't hug her back. I'm not here to stay, I said. She stepped back slowly, eyes wide. I came to say goodbye the right way. She didn't understand. Or maybe she did, but hoped she could undo it. You said we're not nothing, she whispered. That we were something. We were, I nodded. But something doesn't survive betrayal. It just teaches you what not to ignore next time. She folded in on herself, shaking her head, repeating, please, please don't do this. Please. But I had to. Not out of anger. Not out of revenge. Because I couldn't be the man who stayed through it. Not after knowing she looked into my eyes all those nights, smiled, laughed, made love to me, while carrying someone else's name in her pocket. I left the ring on the kitchen counter. The same counter where she once placed our first mortgage approval letter, saying, we're building something that'll last forever. Funny how long forever lasts when secrets grow faster than love. She tried texting after I left. Then calling. Then nothing. 6 months passed. I didn't date. I didn't look back. I just started rebuilding the version of me that didn't need to question every quiet moment, every unexplained phone call. I saw Claire once, by accident, at a bookstore. She didn't apologize again. She just asked, how are you doing? I answered honestly. I'm healing. She nodded. She still talks about you. I don't, I replied. Not anymore. And it was true. Some nights I still remember the way she used to trace circles on my back when I couldn't sleep. The way she cried the first time we said, I love you. But I let those memories pass like traffic outside a window, present, but distant. Because here's the truth. She was right. Trust is everything. And once it breaks, love doesn't die. It just becomes something else. A memory. A lesson. A scar that no longer bleeds but still aches when the weather turns. I didn't lose her that night, Claire messaged me. I lost her long before that. I just didn't know it yet.